This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Power Tank, and Medical Gear Outfitters.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 313, Moab Trip Report.
Tonight, Aaron buys a camel, Coy gets high, Jeremy bends his axle, and Ben shopping for shops.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron and Jeremy, along with returning again that dude from that podcast that we can never get it right, Coy.
How can you never get it right? It's just the horsepower hour.
No, I thought it was like the camel power hour.
The Weekend Review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off. Well, Aaron, what have you been up to?
I went to Moab. It was all right. It was, and then I guess I went to Colorado to go to like Ouray and Telluride, and they're just okay. So, yeah, maybe we could talk about that part later. I guess we could do an episode about it or something. But beyond that, wow, Jeremy, getting serious there with the bottle. For the audio listeners, Jeremy just poured a couple fingers of, is that rum?
No, it's bourbon, some Eagle Rare bourbon stuff.
Okay. I thought it said rum on the bottle. I couldn't read it through the small screen there. So anyways, beyond me going to Moab and Colorado, which we're going to talk about in the main topic, I've started looking into wheels because tires are my next upgrade, but brakes are part of my next upgrade, which is going to force me to get wheels. Talking around with some people, they're suggesting not buying Frontier wheels. They are suggesting buying Titan wheels and swapping the spindles to the Titan spindles and replacing my rear axle spacers with rear axle adapters and running Titan wheels all the way around. Apparently there's a lot bigger availability for that wheel size and greater offset options. So probably what I'm going to do, texting with a guy last night, and I think I'm going to just skip 35s and go straight to 37s. So it sounds like it's very minor trimming with the lift that I have and the body lift stacked on top of that. It's going to be a tiny bit at the very front of the fender and a tiny bit at the rear of the fender, and then make sure my caster is set all the way forward.
I'm looking, and it looks like the Titan wheel lug pattern is the same as my Toyota. So that's a ton of wheel options for you.
Yes, like 6 on 5.5. So I'll be doing like 17-inch 6 on 5.5s, I think.
And there's a billion options out there for you. You could even get the same ones I'm rocking, man.
Probably won't, but it could.
Then you could join
your gear. How's your gearing going to be after going from stock to 37s? I mean, stock gears on 37s.
Well, I'd have to ask around to the Titan guys because essentially my truck is a Titan drivetrain or equivalent and Titan drivetrain gearing. So I'd have to see what they get for 37s, how that affects them. But the next step can always be to regear it.
And you'd need a new locker too, then.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. So, yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. And it mentioned that I bought a camel in the intro there. On one of the days that we were wheeling, we stopped by the new Area 51 beef jerky store, and I bought some camel beef jerky because.
Can you call it camel beef jerky?
I should say camel jerky. Yeah, take the beef out.
Well, they could have mixed some cow in there too, so it might be camel beef jerky.
There wasn't cow in the ingredients, but who knows? They could just be lying. But it was decent jerky. It's good, a little stringy, but it's good.
Are you sucking the strings out of your teeth or something?
Yep. Yeah, picking the fat out between my gums.
There's a toe joke in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, since we talked about me, let's ask Coy what he's been up to.
Well, I went to this off-road park. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Moab. You guys heard of it?
That's a park? I thought it was a city.
Well, it's a city. Then there's some parks and trails. There's some national parks. It's not that big a deal. It's a lot like the parks we have kind of in Oregon, Washington, like those off-road parks, but for men. So, sure you guys will enjoy it. Then I went to Colorado and got really, really high in the atmosphere, as high as I've ever been, actually. So that
Yeah.
was fun.
Wait, you've never been on a plane?
I have been on a plane. It was a small plane, though. And then, I worked late tonight, so I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys before the show. I slid in hot, and I'm here.
If you, since we haven't talked and you haven't responded to my Facebook messages, can you take a look at the main topic show notes and just double check our trail days in Moab so we get them in the right order when we're talking about that? I've got it messed up, I think, pretty good. Ben, what have you been doing?
Nothing much. So when I came back from camping at the beach, my dad went to the hospital and he left us yesterday. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I've been dealing with family. That's why we didn't have a show Monday. So yeah, that's been kind of my life in a spiral. Outside of that, I've been shopping for shops. We're talking about moving the kids' classroom into like a shed, and I was going to turn it into and like I don't know how to describe it. What do they like the craft rooms or whatever they call
She shed?
them? A she shed, yes.
She shed.
So instead of a he studio and classroom. So instead of having my studio in the garage where I can hear everybody in the house, it's going to be in the shed, which will be awesome if that's the direction we go. So we've been kind of shopping for shops, and I've been like, well, could we just get one of those like pole building garages with a concrete floor? Like spend a little more, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're kind of just playing it up in the air right now. So, yep.
You guys doing homeschool again this year?
Yeah. So the boys said they wanted to do it again, so they're doing homeschool again, which I have no complaints. My kids did really good with that. So
It's because they're not
Yeah.
doing anything.
mm,
That's why they want to do it again.
probably, actually, they get done. Like my oldest, he gets done with school in like 2 hours.
That's the thing. That was the same with my children and my nieces and nephews. Is they had like 2 to 4 hours of school every day, and the rest of the time was absolute free time. And they tested higher than they've ever tested. Well, duh, because they went through a whole grade. But no, they tested really, really good at the end of the year. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
my dyslexic middle son, who couldn't read, can now read. So I'm
awesome.
something's working, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been life. What about you, Jeremy? You've been busy, haven't you?
I have been busy since we last recorded. So I ended up torquing all my beadlock bolts. I had a couple that were loose. So they just need to get torqued every so often until they settle in. But and I finally got to go four-wheeling in my Jeep.
What?
felt
How long's it
amazing.
been? Do you know like the exact date the last time you went out?
I could find it. It was like somewhere in early August, like August 8th or something like that.
So you weren't down for an entire year, is what you're saying?
Not quite, but almost. Yeah,
Well,
it was August 8th.
There you go.
8 2020.
What day did you go? What day did you go wheeling?
I went wheeling last Saturday. So that was
Okay. All right.
I know you beat me.
I beat you because we went wheeling Friday night. Oh, spoiler alert.
Yep. So ended up going first. So the first rock garden went through no problems on yellow. So then we were out at Tahuya just doing a little shakedown run. Rick came out with me, so that was nice and actually very helpful because of what happened on Yellow Jacket. So I took the hard line through. Ended up. I'm trying to pull up the photos. So I kind of took the hard line, and they really changed up this obstacle since I last had taken it. So they put this big log in there.
Oh,
So
wow.
that really makes the 40-inch tires look really small.
Yes,
it does.
It actually climbed the front just fine. I couldn't get the rears up. I tried a couple bumps, and I kept walking towards Rick taking the photo. And so I ended up just pulling the winch out, and because I didn't want to go to the right. And so I ended up pulling the winch, just took a very tiny pull to get my rears to climb. And then so that was like a third of the way up the hill. Halfway up the hill, I ended up getting rear diffed, and I kicked up that rock right behind my my front passenger tire.
Nice.
So all the weight was sitting on that rock. So I had to winch again because I was rear diffed and on that. Just barely rear diffed. I mean, if that rock hadn't kicked up like that, I would have made it.
That's impressive right there, man.
I know. I don't know how that rock kicked up like it did, but
Well, 48-inch tires or 40-inch tires have a bit more traction.
I guess
Yeah.
all of a sudden I was going, and Rick's like, you might want to stop and come look at this. And then so I winched through that. So all it took was just a little winch pull, and then I was able to keep going up the obstacle. And then I almost flopped it up near the top of the obstacle. My rear passenger tire went down in a hole. I kind of got a little bit stuck. I was working the wheel back and forth. I finally got some traction and was going steering passenger side. So unfortunately we didn't get any photos of this because as we were going up, I got some traction, was climbing kind of sideways and a little bit off camber, and then all of a sudden my rear passenger tire dipped into a hole, and I went about probably to 35 degrees and went, okay, get a winch on me quick. So a little bit more, it felt, Rick said it looks still pretty stable, but it felt like I was about to flop. So out of an abundance of caution and not wanting my wife to kill me for flopping the Jeep the first time wheeling after spending so much money to get it back up and running and get all the upgrades in, I just said, yep, let's get a winch on me. So I ended up Rick ended up hooking my winch to the anchor point up at the top of the hill, and Rick hooked his winch to my slider. And so he gave me a little bit of tension just to kind of settle the Jeep back down while I got unstuck. That was a little bit of a butt clencher there.
That'll make you pucker, man.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you went with someone, though. I mean,
oh yeah, I don't think I would have tried the obstacle without having somebody there. Just because I don't like to do big obstacles when I'm the only one there for that exact reason. I'm not. You shouldn't ever wheel alone. But I will say I wheel alone because obviously I wheeled alone today, but I didn't try anything big. Or at least I didn't think so. We'll talk about that in a sec. So then we went over to Trail 55, and about halfway through, I started leaking from one of my ram fittings. It started spraying some ATF. That's what the Jeep uses for power steering. It was just needed to be tightened down. I didn't torque it down very hard because JIC fittings aren't meant to be torqued down that hard. And I thought I put enough on it, but when the steering was articulating, it kind of moved the hose a little bit, and it was able to was able to just work the fitting loose. So I tightened it down a little bit more. And then I checked it again today after wheeling, and it hadn't loosened. So I think I got it tight enough now. But after that, we just kind of called it a day. And then so this weekend, or the week, it's my weekend. I took off on Wednesday. And so we ended up going camping on Wednesday. So this is the first camping trip with both kids, and it was an unmitigated disaster.
Oh no.
How so?
So the kids were going down for a nap, and Jude would not go down for a nap. I had to sit there and at the edge of the tent while Rena was napping in the hammock, and just basically just keep telling him to lay down and stay where he's at. And so we ended up actually just bailing on camping and drove back same day.
Oh,
lame.
After nap time, it was like, I don't want to do this again for bedtime. And Rena's like, I don't have the energy for that either. So
yeah.
I think
It seems like the first nights or the first days always the biggest struggle with the young kids, and then they get into the routine the next day. So
yeah. And we had our 1-year-old out there too. And I think if we just had Jude out there with us, our 3-year-old, I think it would have been okay. But Olivia kept falling down every 5 seconds because of the rocky ground. She fell in the river.
What a good dad. What a good dad.
Hey, mom was watching her at that time. I was unloading.
Okay.
And so I think if we had just had Jude, it would have been fine. And that was kind of the other thing, is he kept wanting to try to play with Olivia, and like she fell asleep pretty quick, and he kept trying to wake her up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
I've always found nap time when camping just too difficult with kids. Like, just let them run and get tired and go to bed a little early.
And I think we would have done that if it was just Jude. I think I could probably handle Jude by myself taking that tact. Hey, Jude, don't make it bad, not make is sad, Eric. Yeah, so we ended up coming back and just not doing camping that night. But we camped out for a nap time. Hey, don't show that yet. So then I ended up. Oh, and here's a picture of Rick coming over one of the rock piles on Trail 55. I forgot to show that one.
Yay.
So today I ended up going out wheeling again. I just took Jude with me and just went out by myself. Ended up finding out that my front driver's side coil spring still hits my track bar brace, so I need to grind it down a little bit more. I thought I clearanced enough, but I need to just do a little bit more. I did enough. I did. No, I did as much as I could without pulling the coil spring, and so now I need to pull the coil spring and just grind it down a little bit further. And then so the mention of Jeremy bends his axle. I didn't actually bend my axle, but what I did do is I slid off a rock and just tacoed my lower control arm out on my front axle on the passenger.
Damn. Impressive.
I know. I was so surprised that bent like that.
I wonder if they make armor for those just to help prevent stuff like that.
They do make skid plates for them, but I didn't want to buy one. I never thought I would actually even want one. But
do you want one now?
I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I need to just go in and bend it back.
That metal should be fairly easy to bend back, though.
Yeah, my main concern is I'm not. So it would be super easy if you look on the right-hand side of that photo. That one's going to be pretty easy to bend back. The left-hand side would be if I could pull the control arm out, but I don't know that I'll be able to drop the. I don't know that I'll be able to just drop that control arm and bend it out, because I think the pushing is going to be keeping it in.
Well, there's a super easy way to fix that, Jeremy. All you have to do is go back to where you did that and go backwards over that obstacle, and it should just put it right back.
Sorry for being loud and that echo.
Personally, I would leave it alone. I wouldn't touch it, because if you bend it back and you hit it again, you're just going to weaken that metal over and over.
Yeah,
I'd
that's a good
I'd
point.
leave it until if you ever have to take it off, you deal with it at that point in time.
That's probably a good point. I think it
Yeah.
might be rubbing on that left hand side, so I might just have to bend it back enough so it's not rubbing.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that'll also make you think, do I now want to get that armor?
We'll see.
I
don't
mean, obviously you've hit it now. Is it enough to bother you?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I was surprised that bent so well.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time at Tahuya OHV. Sounds like an amazing place to wheel where people might come from around the country to experience it and spend multiple days and camp there and maybe rent Jeeps to drive that trail. Sounds pretty hot.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh, wow.
It
Hey,
sounds pretty interesting.
oh, and Koi's really quiet again.
I've changed no settings. This is Ben's fault. Everyone point at Ben.
Everybody, it's Ben's fault.
Yep, it's always
his fault.
Are my levels good?
I'm adjusting you now again, back up to where
Hey
you
Ben,
were.
what is your shirt a picture of? Is that an Axle CV?
It is a CV.
Did you wear that for me today?
I might have.
See, I actually got this shirt in Moab. It's a trail I did. Do they sell T-shirts of Tahuya?
I'll make T-shirts with Tahuya.
No, that wasn't a jab. Like, I'd like a Tahuya T-shirt so people can ask where is that things. You know.
All right, so for our audio listeners,
Oh yeah.
shirt is a Treaty Oak off-road shirt that says "Come and Break It," and it's a CV axle, kind of like the "Come and Take It" flag with the cannon and a star.
That's because straight axles are better than IFS.
I mean,
That's debatable.
They have their excellent things that they do.
To be cool, I've broken a CV axle. It costs like $70 to fix. I don't have to take a year and $14,000 in a secondary mortgage. So I mean, better to better. I don't.
Secondary mortgage. Hey, bud, I paid cash for everything.
Well, you know, I'm just saying. I did skimp on my kids' college funds all day.
Not doing that either.
Hey guys.
Sorry.
Since we were talking about T-shirts, let's real quick. We'll mention Koi's for the listeners who aren't watching. Koi is wearing a shirt that says "Fins and Things" on the front, and it's got a really cool picture of a rig driving up a dinosaur's back, and the back says "Hell's Revenge," with no picture of a vehicle on that one. That was omitted.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
Oh, Aaron's yelling at his dog again.
Yelling at the dog. Here is a picture of this month's exclusive patch for January. MTLA, Make Treason Lethal Again. It's a picture of a
July.
What's that?
I said I could have swore it was July.
Did I say June?
You said January.
January? They all start with the letter J. Wow.
I've just been wheeling, so it feels like it's been 6 months. But I guess
I know. Yeah, it was a super long trip.
So
especially with Koi. It's a guillotine with a very subdued American flag behind it. Apparently, it was used recently because there is some red berry juice dripping down it.
And you know, I wanted to share something here. Is you remember the shirts that Patriot Patch used to sell?
Yes.
Well, guess what? You can still get them from Patriot Patch via Amazon. Look at that.
Yes.
Look at all those shirts. So maybe your old favorite patch, rock, paper, scissors, buckshot, taxation is theft. It's dangerous to go and
Celebrate
take this.
diversity.
What
Yeah.
about the Nerf come and take it?
You know what? That's not in there.
Sorry.
Oh,
Let's do the most important one, the pumpkin spice grenade, because if they have it, I'm buying it right now.
I
Looking.
don't see it.
I don't see it.
I've been on the show enough times that I feel like I should buy something online during the show. Like it's only fair that I get my turn.
everybody's done it.
Well, yeah.
Yes, we have.
Well, while we do the news, you can go on Patriot Patch's website or their Amazon page and do it.
The news is brought to you by Power Tank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Speaking of Power Tank, finally got to use
Speaking
my
of Power Tank,
monster valves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How fast are
did they
they?
blow?
Oh, they're so good. So I can go down from 40 to 10 in 27 seconds.
That's
On
pretty
40.
quick.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing at 40 psi on 40s? Is that what you probably will be airing them up to?
Yeah, so stock is 37 and just since I'm quite a bit heavier, I just bumped it up just a little bit.
Are you riding on those crowns pretty well?
Oh yeah.
So, monster valve question, since I haven't experienced the beauty of them yet. When you're getting close to your air pressure,
Hold on. For some, Koi, try that again. For some reason, your audio just went really wacky again.
are we back? I'm good.
Yeah, you're good now. So whatever you did just before you talked this time and last time, don't do that.
I've done nothing other than like move my hands around.
Apparently, you need to talk more.
No, the monster valves. As you're getting close to target air pressure, can you grab it and start slowing it down, or you just full dump and then you just got to hit it right at the right second?
Yeah, you can start slowing it down as you get closer.
Okay.
Yeah, you have really good control over that final finesse as long as you're watching it. Obviously, I mean, if you get distracted with them, at 27 seconds for a 40-inch tire, you're probably going to miss your mark if you're not paying attention to it. But yeah, otherwise it works out great.
So you only went down to 10 psi?
So I went down to 12 on the first day. So these tires have quite a bit more flex in them than it's kind of a softer tire than the Toyos that I was using before. So I'm just kind of dialing it down to see where my happy medium is going to be. I think 10 is going to be my happy medium for general like OHV wheeling. I'll probably go down to 15 for like just running fire roads and stuff like that. For bigger obstacles, then I need to see where that PSI is going to land. But
I'm just kind of surprised you didn't try lowering your PSI for that, where you had to winch, where your rears weren't grabbing traction.
yeah, I probably should have, but I don't know. So part of it was, and we actually had this discussion of I could probably lower the tire pressure and get up it, but then I was like, well, I need to get some good winch footage. But then I didn't take any winch footage. So,
Well, speaking of Power Tank, Koi just recently got a Power Tank analog tire filler with the big old long cord. What did you think of that, Koi?
I quite love it. Quite love it. It's wildly accurate, even down to low PSIs. A lot of my gauges that will go up to like a street level, once you're getting down to like that 10 PSI range, I have a really accurate gauge that just goes up to like 15. And I checked it with my 15 and lower gauge, and it was dead on at 10. So I'm pretty impressed.
Nice.
Yep, it's very nice not having to bend over while you're filling up your air. You can just stand there and be like, look at me.
And I like so Coy has a trick that he does that I've not seen anybody do. He takes a zip tie and makes a tight loop that you can slip it over the air fill handle, and then he sets a timer on his phone and he just walks away from it, and then his timer goes off and he comes back and checks it, finishes, tops it off, and then moves it to the next tire and sets his timer again. And yeah, and you can just slip the zip tie off and on of the squeeze handle. I thought that was a fun little trick.
Yeah, if you had a power tank, it'd be like, all right, 30 seconds, go.
Yep.
Especially if you put it in monster valves. It'd be like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I do want to
With-
set them valve badly.
Yeah.
They are amazing. I was so happy with them.
Yeah.
I
Well,
feel like I might be responsible for the monster valves that you got. And I'm going to tie this back in. Like 4 years ago, you guys were doing a Christmas wish list, and I put monster valves on there. And I feel like that's when you learned about them, which makes those like part my monster valves. So you're welcome. You're welcome for my monster valve.
Well,
There it
you know,
is.
if you do get monster valves, don't do what I did and get impatient with the tap on the last one and break your tap off.
Yeah.
I think I will get the one that you just DB'd the tire and actually bolted in.
Yeah, those work well too.
But because my wheels actually already have 2 valve stems, so I don't want to drill a third. So I'll just drill out one of
Yeah,
the
Enlarge
existing
one.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the news. The first one is about a Dodge Ram that didn't quite make it through Black Bear Pass the day after Coy and I were there.
So I was looking at this, and I have a feeling that I have the answer why this happened. And you guys will probably be able to answer this. It looks like he tried to take the high side because he's afraid to get too close to the edge, and that's what
Yep.
caused him to flop.
That's how I see it too, because you have to come down that a little bit, and I think he hugged the inside, which put his driver's side high on that wall, and it flopped him.
I think there may have been a little bit of speed involved there too, because if you really look at that high side, if you just drove slow, I don't think you could get high enough to actually put it on its side. It seems like he had to have that with some speed and kind of hit some bumps and then completely drop it over. So
Yeah,
just looking.
you know, pictures never show the angle, which we'll see later in our Moab pictures and stuff too. So it could be higher than what we're seeing.
There's a good picture right here.
Yeah, there you go.
He got a great view with that picture. I'm like, that would be my background if that was me, because I'd never live it down.
We're getting some love here from the Horsepower Hour co-host Andy. He says, "Aaron and Coy, you both are looking bloated. It must be from when we have gone from all that altitude back down to sea level. I think that it's kind of squishing us out here. So
Isn't that the camel power hour?
I think just being at Moab, and doing all that amazing stuff probably increased my testosterone levels quite a bit. So I
That
look
could
like
be.
I look bulked up, but it's it's just vacation.
Yeah.
And if you're watching the show, I've got up here on the screen another picture a little bit closer that kind of shows what I'm talking about when I talk about that high side. It looks like he just hugged that high side and over he went. It's a good thing he didn't keep rolling.
If you look at the height of the truck versus the height of the the shelf there, it doesn't seem like there's enough there to flop the truck. But I mean, I know we're at an angle, but I don't know. I don't know what he did.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the guy.
All right, you
Yeah.
need to go and take that same line and see if you flop. That's the only way to tell.
Well, all I can say is looking at this picture right here, it's a good thing he only just flipped over on his side, because
So-
he kept on going all the way down.
Go
If-
back to that zoomed in one. I want to point something out. Or zoom. Did he kick the windshield out to get out? Because that is worth it to flop your truck, because that is a manly move.
Well, also look on the ground in front of the rig. There's an axe there, so I hope that they actually axed him out.
that might be the only manlier way to escape.
All right, stand back. I'm going to axe you out.
Hey, Ben, go to the picture from that's showing it from behind.
Let me see if I
Self-gratification.
oh yeah, there we go.
That shows you a good view of
Yep.
what the angle is.
Can
And
you
he
guys
was
see
definitely
this
on the high
picture?
side.
Uno
Yeah,
moment.
if his tires ended up there, his sidewall ended up there, he was really high on that wall.
Did you guys? There's no picture.
I'm working on it. Give me a second.
You guys are. I thought
Sorry.
you guys could-
You don't see it, Coy?
No.
Neither do our
go.
our listeners.
Yeah, he definitely took the high side. There's a solid angle. I'll put these in the show notes, up by the news articles for you, for those who are listening and are curious about just how awesome and
Yeah,
terrible this was.
just so whoever's listening, if they're interested, like his tires look like they're not even on the roadway surface when he
Yeah.
flopped. Like it
Yeah.
seriously looks like he was all the way up on the wall, all four tires, and then
Yeah,
Th-
so
before
I've heard a handful of conversations about Black Bear Pass, and generally what I've heard is the problem is people take that get
you've never
afraid and
been?
take that. Never been, though.
Oh,
I know
okay.
a guy. I know a guy. Or two. That they take that high side because they're afraid of going over the edge, and they roll.
Andy in the comments says, "I'm sure his wife was super impressed with his driving abilities."
Oh, ouch! Yeah,
Oh,
she probably was.
maybe they were trying to file a warranty, or not a warranty, insurance claim. On
Insurance
this
claim?
Yeah,
Yeah, could
maybe she
be.
would be impressed.
That is the worst place I would ever want to try to flop a truck for an insurance claim, ever.
Oh, can you imagine the recovery for that?
No, can you imagine if he kept rolling?
Yeah.
Forget to set your e-brake or whatever, like the other guys
Oh God.
with your wife and dog in it.
So this happened the day after Coy and I were there, and this road was like the basis for our entire trip. It was, we have a feeling they're going to shut down Black Bear Pass, or Coy had a feeling they'd shut down Black Bear Pass, and I agreed with him. We better get it in, knock it off our bucket list before we can't ever do it ever. And even the clout of being the off-road podcast, they might not let us run the trail after it's closed. So we ran the trail. The very next day, this guy flops, and it shut the trail down for over 24 hours. They had to get 2 wreckers out there. I wish they had pictures of the wreckers recovering it, because I'm curious what they consider a wrecker to pick this up, because getting from the beginning of the trail to this part would have been tough for a tow truck or something larger than a tow truck.
Well, and they have a handful of clubs out there that do recoveries.
Yeah,
Where I've
they
seen
just
them
specifically mentioned 2 wreckers in the
Yeah.
article. So, yep.
It's
Well,
funny that you mention that they might close it down, because the article actually says, so Black Bear Pass, otherwise known as Forest Service Road 558, is dangerous enough that the sheriff has considered closing it before.
Yep, there it
Mhm.
is. And it's only open 2 to 3 months a year as it is, because of the amount of snow that they get at 12,800 feet.
Snow and weather. I remember watching a video on Bleep and Jeep, where they had I think it was a hailstorm, with rain, and it washed out the road farther down.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was a bit sketch. So yeah, and just as an update to the people who were there, no one was injured, and
Just their pride.
just their pride, and they did get the pickup off the trail. So
Yep. Well, our next article here is Ford News. It seems like every other week it's either Bronco or Wrangler news. So Hennessy is releasing a Velociraptor 400, which utilizes the 2.7 liter twin turbo EcoBoost engine that's already in the Bronco, and it pumps it up 75 horsepower and 88 foot-pounds over torque, which puts it up to 405 horsepower and 503 foot-pounds of torque, which is phenomenal numbers. 0 to 60 in 4.9. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the stats were from that new V8 Wrangler that they've got, but if it's faster than this, it can't be by much. They're only going to make 200 of the Velociraptor 400s. It's 80 grand, which includes the cost of the donor Bronco Wild Track, covered by a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. I think that they said half of them are already spoken for. It mentions that it also comes with 18-inch wheels, 35-inch tires, bumpers front and rear, LED lights, and it says power-operated running boards. I'm not sure if those are like those slider-capable running boards or not. I should hope so.
I wonder if they will, because I mean, even those ones that are slider-ish, that AMP does, they having dealt with a bunch of those, I wouldn't call them the best in the world for someone who's going to be out in mud and dirt, unless they
Yeah.
plan on maintaining their crap.
They
which
get
people,
gunked up.
they get gunked up, and then they jam, and then stuff breaks, and then people get mad, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, I believe it.
And I
That's
got
great.
the number for you for the 392. So it's 0 to 60
what's
in 4.2 seconds.
nice, very nice. Well, this is only a V6 and that's a V8. So if that isn't enough horsepower for you, Hennessy's coming out with a 750 horsepower one. It'll only be mated to the 10-speed automatic. You can't get it with the stick shift, so that must mean that the other version, the Hennessy Velociraptor 400, you can get with the stick shift option. Yeah, 750 horsepower, but they're only making 24 of them, and they're gonna be $225,000.
Did you guys see the photo of the dealer markup on a Wrangler 392 where they were asking for 40K in dealer markup?
No way.
Yes.
No, but it wouldn't surprise me with how hot the car
Not-
market is right now.
Not one bit. Oh my goodness.
So it put the total price to 120K for the Wrangler 392 from that dealer.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with how terrible the market is right now for new vehicles. The markups are crazy. It's like if you want something, go used, and even used vehicles are stupid crazy. Andy sold one of his cars, and he said he got like $400 less than what he paid for it new.
Wow.
So,
Well, let's talk about our giveaway. We haven't announced any winners since we've had some craziness happening. We missed a week. We pushed this episode out. Who wants to do the honors with the first one?
I think you should let our guest do it.
That's kind of like rubbing his nose in it because he can't win.
A little bit. You want me to do this? Which one do you want me to start with?
Start.
Just work your way down.
Work my way down. So the winner
Yeah.
of Warren BR Evo 10S winch with synthetic rope is Patrick E. We really don't
If
have
you
last name.
If you don't answer us with the next 30 seconds, we're going to give it to somebody else. No, we're going to email all these people.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the number 10 power tank package A, tank regulator, hose, coupler, and air chuck. Drum roll, please. Nate D. Oh, wow. That was actually a really good drum roll. So Nate D, you have 38 seconds or days. I'm not sure what it is. Medical Outfitters Overlander first aid kit. Drum roll. Andrew W. Please come to the stage. And the Warren Hub wireless winch controller, not the actual hubs, obviously. Joe L. Wait,
Joel?
Joe. Joe, first name, and then L. Is this my Joe?
No,
I don't know. Probably
I don't-
not.
probably not.
You know, Dayville, Forerunner.
Probably not.
Oh yeah. Well,
We're only giving away last names. We're not giving away last names for
yeah.
everybody's privacy.
And then the winner of the $250 Tread Lightly winner is Brent. That has to be the Brent I'm thinking of. Congratulations, Brent.
Yeah. So Jeremy's going to shoot out emails to all of our awesome winners. All we ask is that maybe once you get it and you put it on something, that you take a picture of yourself with it so we can share your super happy face. And yeah, we can pixelate your face if you're having a bad skin day or something.
Or just shoot us a picture of your Jeep.
Yeah, that's true. We don't need to see.
Only Jeep winners.
Is that how
Did you cherry pick this for only Jeep winners, Jeremy?
No, I don't think so. I don't even know what any of these people drive.
Yep. So if you shoot us a picture with your stuff, it's good for us. It's good for our sponsors.
Yeah.
I don't know, do an Instagram or whatever post and be like, hey, thanks to whoever you got your stuff from. Well, us and our sponsor that helped provide it. So yeah.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Before we get rolling into the main topic, I wanted to talk about Warren really quick.
Yeah.
Thank God I had a Warren winch on my Jeep, and thank goodness that Rick had a Warren winch on his.
Also, because you guys are both driving Jeeps.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up
because Coy and I
yeah
didn't have to use our winches at all.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you guys weren't running as hard of trails then, apparently.
Yeah, clearly. Hell's Revenge, Hell's Gate, they were beginner trails out there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but you didn't run Escalator, so.
Didn't have time. I knew we'd get dinged for that.
Oh, didn't have time. Okay.
Point out, I'm sorry, but I went Hell's Revenge, Hell's Gate, and then I was looking for Demon Portal, but I guess it's closed right now. And Escalator it didn't really sound fun. Like literally, Escalator. Ooh, I'm at
They have those in,
and you didn't.
They have those in malls. Escalators
Oh.
at the malls.
$18 for Starbucks now that I'm in this place with an escalator. Woo!
Anyway, the other thing that I did with my Warren products this weekend, or last weekend, I guess, is I did that stereotypical thing where I forgot to lock in my hubs.
You got to get those Bluetooth hubs so that it's like automatic with your phone.
Yeah, except I don't think it's that type of hubs.
Oh.
How old you have a son, right? Jeremy?
Yeah, 3 years old.
3 years old. It's just about right, man. Because when I was a kid and I would go out with my dad, guess who was the hub locker?
He was the cap, the valve cover wrangler today. So he took off all the the monster valve covers and then the tire stem valve covers for me.
It's nice. I know Jeremy and I's truck, you actually just put it in 4-low and then it's in 4-wheel drive, but it's a more modern technology than
Aaron and you.
You're complimenting my truck.
Sorry, Aaron and I. I know it's Nissan Toyotas, but yeah, I just have the lever. I pull down, over, and then up, and then I just go.
Well, I mean,
mine's really interesting. It's just this knob that you go click to 4 high and then push and click to 4 low. It takes care of it for you.
I think I have the ultimate trump card though. 40s.
No, that just means you have big tires. That's all.
Compensating.
Yeah. Well, clearly, with my worn out 33s, I did every hard trail we came across in Moab.
Oh, yeah, but you didn't do some of the hardest trails.
Didn't have time.
Oh, there that.
You had to keep the wives happy.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
I should have taken a picture of my mud tires because they're not quite slicks yet, but I wouldn't drive them in the rain.
So what you're saying is they're as bad as my old tires? Are they
Worse.
No,
not quite a 3
nothing's as bad as your old tires, except for your other old tires.
Boy, there's a lot of smack talk going on in this episode.
Yeah. Well, it was a great trip. So, day one, so we were gone for 11 days. Day one, Coy and I left our houses like before 6 o'clock in the morning, Thursday, and we boogied out from Northwest Oregon along the Columbia River, Interstate 84, out the gorge. Met up there, and then we worked our way out to Idaho. Pretty uneventful. Only thing we really had to do on day one was in the travel portion was I needed to move my truck forward, my Nissan forward. So I was towing. So Coy drove his rig. I was towing mine on a trailer behind my wife's F-150. So I needed to scoot it forward just a tiny bit, just to get a little more weight on the hitch, and that smoothed things out. And we were able to just cruise at legal speed limits the whole way to Idaho. And then we camped in Idaho along the Snake River. I got a quick picture here I'll pull up for those watching. This is disgusting because there was a lot of algae in the water, but this is the Snake River that we camped along. And you can see railroad tracks on the right hand side. We found this campsite through iOverlander, and they were correct. The train does come by every once in a while to wake you up at night once you have finally fallen asleep in the 100+ degree weather in your tent. Andy wants to know what kind of fuel economy I got with the EcoBoost. Andy, you're going to have to stay tuned for another 45 minutes into this episode because that's coming at the very, very end. Sorry to hold you up like that. You're gonna hear about it at the very end. Did you have anything, Coy, about day one, or we just want to get to Moab?
Yeah, we were literally just hammered down headed to Moab.
Yeah.
How warm was it?
It was
Hot.
only
was hot.
105, I think, when we got off the highway to
Yes.
Snake River campsite, and it dropped down to I think like 101. We got to camp.
Yeah. Yeah, it cooled
99.
off because we got down to the creek, the river. So, one thing we had to do after we set up camp and then after we jumped into the river was we still had the burp to cooling system on my Nissan Frontier. I ran out of time to finish my truck before we left. So, yeah, I ran out of time to finish my truck. So we, that night as the sun was going down, we used a like this vacuum kit that you buy, and it sucks all the air out of your cooling system, puts a negative pressure on it, and then you turn a couple valves and it draws the coolant in, and it prevents air pockets. And I used my ARB air compressor to power that little doodad, and seemed like it worked good. I didn't have cooling issues at all on the trip, but I had some like ghost cooling issues that were making me think I was having an issue. I think my cooling temperature sensor is on the way out because I was getting low and then lower and lower and lower sensor readings. Like my needle was not very high, and so I thought that maybe there's an air pocket which was going to cause me to overheat. So I was really nervous about it for the first couple of days, but day two, when we got to Moab and we unpacked, we said, let's take it for a test drive. We took it for a test drive. Everything seemed good. So we said, let's go wheeling that night. And so we hit Fins and Things as the sun was going down, and truck didn't overheat, performed great. We were still at our stock tire pressures because we just didn't have, they shut down parts of Fins and Things as the sun goes down because it's near campground. So they don't want you keeping people awake. So we had to make it quick. Actually, that's that night in that picture. Thank you, Ben. As we were leaving Fins and Things, we stopped, and this is Baby Lions back in the background, which we did a day or two later. I can't remember which day, but This picture is just as the sun was going down. This guy in the full-size Tundra had a bike rack hanging off his hitch, and he was trying to go up the entrance to Hell's Gate, and he was getting really stuck. So he backed down, and then he pulled out onto fins and things. And we told him it's supposed to be the easiest of the hard trails, one everybody does when they get there. And then he turned around and backed away from that one too. So I don't know if he did any trails in Moab.
It's kind of disappointing. I mean, you've got a Tundra. It's more than capable of doing that.
It was probably more than capable. He just needed to take his bike rack out and put it in his bed because he was going to drag it on everything.
Yeah.
Stuck way out. Well, Coy, you want to talk about day 3? What'd we do?
Day 3, we got up bright and early, loaded up the kids and the wives, and went out to fins and things because we like to do cool, hardcore stuff like that with our family. You bring your family to Tahuya, Jeremy?
I brought my son.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so we
Oh, my side hurts.
I'm glad I didn't go wheeling. I'm just saying.
Uh-oh. Jeremy removed Coy from the live stream there. Welcome back, Coy.
So sorry, Jeremy. You knew this was going to happen. You had to know.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, someday we'll wheel together and I'll break an axle and you can just dump it all on me. I know karma's going to catch up to me. So we did fins and things, and that trail was pretty fun. I got done and I was a little bit, this is what's supposed to get me ready for the rest of Moab. And I was like, I hope the rest of Moab is a little harder than this trail, because only really the last, mile and a half is kind of slick rock, what you think of Moab in your mind. And it's not real easy. I mean, it's fun, but it's not what you have in your mind of Moab, but still a cool trail.
I do think it is a great first run trail for anybody. So, I don't think you need any lockers for this. I don't even think you need 33s. You could probably do it on 30s with a 4Runner.
I don't know if you need 4-wheel drive. I mean, if you have I don't know, maybe just for the
Your
lower
Subaru
gear.
could do it.
So, hold
you
on.
do have
I want to get something straight. You called it a hardcore trail and then said you could do it in 2-wheel drive on a stock 4Runner with 30s.
I didn't say you could do it. I said I could. So.
Oh, that was a good comeback. I love it.
Yes.
Well, so let's take a quick minute and talk about the guidebook that Coy had. I can't remember who makes that guidebook.
I should have it in the room with me. Rated a difficult trail. What is the brand of that? They make guidebooks for everyone, for everywhere.
It's Fun Treks, I think.
Yep.
So I'm reading something here, and it calls fins and things a 4 out of 10 difficulty.
So the Fun Treks book has 3 colors. It's got green, blue, and red. Green is the easiest. Red is the most difficult. Unfortunately, once they go into those colors, they don't say, well, this is at the bottom of the scale or the top of the scale. They just say it's a red trail. So it definitely didn't seem like a red trail to us. And then other trails that were supposed to be easy, as we'll find out later, were more difficult. But yeah, we started out on fins and things.
After we made short work of that, we went ahead and took the wives and kids back because they were going to go do some other stuff. And honestly, it was pretty hardcore for the wives. It was a little too much for them. So then we loaded up with my father-in-law, who came with us, and we went out to find the crystal geyser, which turns out is not your typical geothermal geyser vent. It is a carbon dioxide geyser, and I don't know exactly how it works, but just imagine shaking up a bottle of soda, and it's literally foaming and bubbling. Obviously, it never went off while we were there because that's how geysers don't explode when you look at them and all that. But we were there. Aaron stuck his head down the geyser hole because he's a manly man who's not afraid to get blasted in the face by a geyser. It's like the earth is popping a zit in your face, and he's just sticking his head right there. Like, it was a pretty manly move.
So,
Uh,
but before anybody says that was completely irresponsible, so what what you were saying is it's not a hot geyser, it's just a carbonated one.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
It's not
Cold.
not even least bit warm, so it doesn't actually burn you. It just rips the skin off your face.
From the pressure. You
Yeah,
get
no,
a facial, in other words.
it's like trying to take a drink out of a fire hose, not out of a boiling tea kettle. But and
Yeah,
this
so this
doesn't
this
totally.
trail was a
Go ahead, Aaron.
this trail was also in the Fun Treks guidebook, um, as just kind of a scenic trail. I don't know what color rating it was, but the instructions were not the best on how to get to the trailhead. So we spent a lot of time in the desert exploring, which I like to do anyway. So we had a good time driving around, finding it, and at one point we ended up like Salt Road Wash or something like that, which was basically this little gully that you like whip around through, which almost seemed like a dry riverbed, which was pretty fun.
Well,
We
so
also we also accidentally went through the what was it, white sand?
Yes, yeah, I actually took the Nissan out on some sand dunes again. I think Coy tricked me into going through the sand dunes because I think maybe 4 or 5 times during the day I said, and make sure we don't go through the sand dunes.
He did say that, and I drove directly to them, completely not on purpose, but because I'm not very good at trail finding, apparently.
so
But
I looked up
it was
the
pretty the,
I looked up
the sand dunes there. If you look at like Oregon, if you're from Oregon and Washington, where there's like actual sand dunes, don't while you're in Moab, don't go to the sand dunes.
Yeah, if you've been to sand dunes before, don't bother with these.
so I looking up the crystal geyser eruption times. They're every 8 to 27 hours currently, and with eruptions lasting up to 14 hours long.
Wow.
Up to 40 feet in the air. So you literally,
Yeah,
when you head
you
over it,
might
you
need
now
to see a doctor if you have eruptions for 14 hours.
yeah, call your doctor. Be like, hey, doctor, I've had an eruption for 14 hours. And doctor's like, hell yeah. After
So,
we
so
left,
yeah, we left the crystal geyser.
Aaron found something even better than eruptions. And he also is just like, hey, man, I see something called Launch Base Number 3 on Google Maps. And it's kind of on our way out. So let's check it out. And it was Aaron found it. So he should have the pleasure of telling the story of how awesome we were.
So yeah, it was a half mile out of our way heading back to the highway, and we come around the corner and there's just this chain link fence area, and you can't see much other than as you pull up. The chain link fence has clearly been ripped off its hinges by somebody a long time ago.
I remember it saying
And
like government keep out. We're talking about you guys. You could get shot, and we were like, we're super tough and manly.
yeah,
We're going to come onto this place.
we have we're on a podcast, so it's okay. We can enter. No, actually, there was zero sign saying keep out or anything. There was nothing telling us not to go in there. So we said, let's go in there. And it ended up being a rocket launch site or a missile launch site. I guess I don't know the difference between a missile and a rocket, but this site where they launched projectiles, and it was like some testing facility. And Coy, did you say that they landed in New Mexico or Texas or both? Is where they crash
I-
landed them?
Somewhere they shot
Yeah.
at some people don't live in the desert.
Yeah. So they shoot them off from this testing facility. It was really neat to explore, and we didn't know that when we got there. We just saw these ruins of government buildings and walked through them and kind of made our own guesses at what stuff was before we started googling it. So it was a really cool place to check out. Clearly, copper thieves had been there and stripped everything out of there. They cut telephone poles down with chainsaws. Yeah, craziness.
Yeah, that's I remember seeing. Did you guys share any pictures of that? I don't remember.
I think they're in the
I
chat group or something.
Yeah, I don't
I
think we shared pictures of that one.
So I Googled it, which it's a really cool site.
Yeah.
Seeing all the pictures here. And for those interested, it operated from 1964 to 79.
Oh, wow, that's more recent than I thought.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was that, and then we drove back, um, and that's when I stopped and got the camel jerky. Was on our way home from that trip. So
It was a
that was a
sweet,
that was it's a good
sweet
day.
story. Which I don't
Yeah.
know if any you have like Utah and the kind of middle area of the United States listeners. What is up with all the beef, the jerky sales place?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, in Colorado and Utah, there's beef jerky stores everywhere on every single highway, and sometimes it's like a legit superstore, and sometimes it's a guy with a broken down camp trailer on the side of the road.
There's like taco wagon versions of beef jerky sales, and I'm like, can't you
Yeah.
just go to like Safeway or Piggly Wigglies or whatever and just buy the beef jerky you would like? But I guess you have to get sketchy, weird stores to get. They're like tobacco. They're like liquor stores or something.
Yeah,
Of beef
it's the
jerky.
beef jerky stores. They're government run. You have
Yeah,
to
like a
get a
tobacco
special
shop.
jerky license.
Like, it's like the vape shop, but for jerky.
Yeah. Well, day 4, that's Sunday. So Sunday my wife had to do her job, so she didn't come with us. I can't remember. Yeah, your wife came. Everybody came except for your wife, Coy. So, on everybody came except for my wife. Sorry. Somebody's wife didn't come. My wife didn't come, but everybody else did, and we hit up Hell's Revenge. First trail of the day. You all right, Jeremy?
Jeremy's dying here if you're watching.
Yeah.
Literally
Yep.
just
So
dying.
Hell's Revenge and Fins and Things are like right next to each other, and they're like, I feel like they're the closest trail inside of Moab that you can go hit, and so they're kind of the ones that you go to. And we wanted to do Hell's Revenge the day before, but we just didn't get to it. So we hit up Hell's Revenge first thing in the morning. Um, the guidebook says it takes 2 to 3 hours to get through Hell's Revenge. It took us 5. Not because it was hard, but because we stopped a whole lot, took a lot of pictures, had the family with us, and yeah, we worked our way through it. What was your impressions of Hell's Revenge the very first time, Coy?
I honestly, I was like, we should have started with this trail on the first night we got here. Like, I could have wheeled this trail at night, and it was amazing. It's everything you really, when you think of Rock and Moab, like this is what you're thinking of. It's fun.
Yeah.
So how was your tire pressure? What did you guys use for like a tire pressure? Um, did you guys
What
go to
PSI
extreme
were we
pressure?
at?
Yeah.
I dropped down to like 12 or 4. No, yeah, 12 and 14, something like that. I wanted to be able to get home back to our rental house without airing up. I think Aaron ran a slightly higher pressure.
Yeah, I ran 15 all around, just because it's a round number.
Did you need
Um,
lockers?
no. It was so in Moab it was like 108 degrees every single day, and that has a big effect on rubber, making it stickier, as well as people making them stickier. There was grip for days, as you can see in this picture. You can see the black rubber lines on the rock as it over the hood of my truck as Koi goes down around the corner, up around the bend. You, it's just everywhere. In fact, it's almost like when you go bowling and they put the bumpers up for you. It's like this is the route you take. You don't have to figure out your own route, which was convenient because there were some places if there was not rubber on the rock, I would have been like, I'm not sure about this line, but it went really smooth. So Hell's Revenge was great. Coy led most of the way. At some point, I got in front, and we came around the corner, and there's a sign that said Hell's Gate. I'm like, we're doing Hell's Gate, right? And Coy's like, yep, we're gonna do it. And I pull up, and I can't see anything over my hood. And I got on the radio. I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're doing Hell's Gate. I can't I can't even see the trail. So we parked and got out, and this is looking down Hell's Gate, and it's not a very good picture because you can't tell how steep it is. But
I want to jump in and forgot to mention we met a guy in the parking lot.
oh, that's right.
I don't know if you want to use names. I believe that's your call, but really nice guy, and he had just come back from Colorado, and he is in a Jeep, and it was pretty nicely built Jeep too. It was Terraflex everything, I believe. And he said,
Yeah.
"Hey, you guys mind if we tag along?" We said, "Well, this is our first time, so we don't know what we're doing either." And he said, "Same here." So he followed with us through the whole thing, and him and his wife were really nice people.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. And he had a clean JL, and like you said, it had Terraflex everything, including the wheels. We were oogling his Terraflex wheels that have those little knobs on them that you can turn to
Those are
pick
pretty
a
awesome.
pressure. Yeah,
I want those so badly.
yeah. So yeah, so I pulled up to Hell's Gate, and I'm like, I don't think we're going down this. And then I hopped out of my truck, and I could see over the edge at that point. And then by that time, Coy had got over there, and we're looking over the edge. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I don't care. Let's send it. So I proceeded down, and it was not that scary going down. It wasn't that big of a deal. I just kind of sent it. And without looking at what do you do after you go down, I just went down there, and then Coy followed me.
Yeah, and as I was going down, I was kind of like, I remember watching videos of this. There's an up part, and I was like, well, see an up part. This doesn't seem that bad, you know? So we all just dove down into it. And then Aaron pulls around and gets on the radio and says, I hope you guys are ready because there's a crowd.
Yeah,
That's the one you guys sent the video to?
probably. And I've got a couple videos to share. So when in fact we'll just do that. Maybe we'll just do that right now. So then we went up it, and this is going to be a video from going up it, but not when there were people there. So this is from the second time, but I'm sharing these because it's got a little better perspective. Or do you want to save it?
No, go ahead and play it. But I just want to point out the crowd. There's like these roving bands of side by sides. They're like they tour it. I don't. Have you been to a park where it's so popular that they actually tour it with people, Jeremy? Like people actually like want to go on a tour. Anyways, I don't. Never mind. But they must have saw us go down, and they all like I don't know. There's probably 25 to 40. There was a crowd at the top of this waiting.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, it's going up it with your buddies. It's it's uncomfortable a little bit. Like this is kind of a hard crawl. But then when there's a crowd waiting up there, and I've never done it, I'm like, they're waiting for carnage, and I don't know what I'm about to do now. Like, it's not that I'm afraid I'm going to get embarrassed. It's I know there's a reason they're watching. So I felt like there's a crowd watching the seal with the orca whales around it, and I was like, no, I'm the seal.
Well, I mean, they're watching for whatever that guy did. Wasn't there just recently a guy who flopped on there?
A lot of, and this is not a dig at you, Jeremy. This is a two-door like TJs and stuff. They're such short wheelbase. This is actually it's a detriment on this trail because I can flip over backwards and forwards on this trail.
Yeah, I've actually heard a lot, like especially like Hell's Gate. Actually, the closer to stock you are, the easier it is because you're a little bit less tippy.
I could see that to an extent.
So here's Coy. He kept his tire on the wall better that time. The first time his tire slipped off the wall right at that point, and he just climbs right up it.
Yeah, I'm sure your wife was happy she was not there for that, right,
Oh.
Aaron?
She was there
yes.
first time I did it, yeah. And she did not ride in the vehicle. She videoed from the top, and she let me do it. Usually a lot of stuff she's like, you don't need to do this, but she understood that I was in Moab to do these trails. So
Yeah.
that's when I came.
So real quick in this video, I want to point out for the people watching this scratch in the rock right here is not from like someone diffing it going up or anything. That is from winch line rubbing in the rock. There were multiple points where winch lines have rubbed wear lines into the rock, and I'm pretty positive that there's no other way out of Hell's Gate other than going out the exit. There's no like back door to Hell's Gate, so you gotta do it. It's all or nothing. So here's my video going up the second time also. Just a different angle with the drone. This was in like autopilot mode, so I didn't get to zoom it in or anything while it was going up. And of course, there's no sound because it's the drone. So
I've
this
got-
looks like flat, but
Yeah,
you're
I don't
actually
know if you guys are
traversing up. You're actually traversing up the crack at this point, and you got to keep your tires on both sides of that V notch.
It's hard to tell here, but the drone camera is actually level right now. It's pointed straight ahead. So
Just about.
Yeah.
I'm almost climbing vertically up this wall.
and this trail, I'm sure it can be done without lockers if you try hard and believe in yourself, but it makes a huge difference, like a huge difference to have a locker on this one. So
Yep. Right here, I'm going to lift a tire, and having that front locker, which I got installed just in time for the trip, made a big difference. So yeah, passenger side front tires up in the air right now. With no locker, I would only have been rear wheel drive.
I'm sorry, I got to take credit for this. Who convinced you to go ahead and plumb your locker?
That was you, Jeremy. Yep, take all that credit, and I appreciate you pushing me to get it because it was easy to get the parts and have it installed.
Aaron, I've got the videos you shared with us in the group. Is that the same time you did that one?
Yeah, if you want to share that, I'll stop sharing my screen here, and
Yep.
you can share another video, and then we'll move it back on. You can hear you can hear my awesome V8 rumbling in the background. This is Coy's wife scrambling up the wall as she's shooting video of me. Lifted a front driver's side tire up off the ground there, going up for the audio listeners. Prepare for the scream. Another tire off the ground. This is when the crowd was standing around.
That I gotta say, your V8, that sounds absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it sounded really good. At one point, I broke an exhaust hanger, and so instead of having it side exit, it exited out the rear near my spare tire. So I didn't get all the rumble anymore, but that V8 sounded great while we were out there.
and it is
So-
pretty crazy. I mean, obviously, if you were in a lot of other places, the grip that the rock gives you there is just, it's ridiculous. And I can see how a person could go to Moab, do a bunch of this stuff, return to whatever they hail from, and then go, oh, I can drive up this. I went up steeper in Moab and get halfway up and then slide sideways to their doom. I could totally see that happening after being,
Yes.
it's like sandpaper-esque, the stuff you're driving on, and it doesn't crumble away under your tire like you would think it would, but it's just, I mean, you can hear tires chirping on it like constantly. You'd be going up something so steep, you'd be in four-wheel drive and your tires would chirp. Like, I mean, it's just nuts how much grip you have, and then how steep of stuff you are capable of driving up that you would never try someplace else.
It's like a cheat code.
It is. It's pretty amazing.
So yeah, that was first thing Sunday morning. We did Hell's Revenge, and then Hell's Gate, which is part of the Hell's Revenge Trail. And then we found out that there's 2 miles at the very end of Hell's Revenge that nobody wants to do.
It's so hard because it's just so horribly uncomfortable.
Yeah. You know, when they talk about wheeling on like baby head rocks, where there's like rocks the size of softballs and melons, it was like that, and it was terrible. And it was like the last 2 miles, there was some ledge work and then these rocks everywhere, and it was all loose. And there was an exit of the trail that you could take that prevented you from having to take that. So we're like, okay, next time we do that, we're not doing this part again. And we're going to warn everybody in the entire world not to take the rest of this trail, which we just are doing right now.
And the other thing about Hell's Gate is, or not Hell's Gate, sorry, Hell's Revenge. Hell's Gate is one way. It's just an obstacle. Hell's Revenge, the actual trail, is 2 ways. So you can do half of it and be like, oh, I want to go back now, and just turn around and go back out the way you came.
Yeah.
So I wish we had done that.
Except for the entrance and the exit. Those are one way, but that's just a tiny bit. Yeah. So we went back to the house, dropped everybody off except for Koi's father-in-law, and we went to run Cane Creek. Cane Creek, we decided would just kind of be a fun scenic trail. Cane Creek, you cross the creek like 50 times. It said it was supposed to be 3 to 4 hours long. And at the very end is something called Hamburger Hill, which was going to be the tough obstacle. Most people have to winch up it. And it's a through trail, so it's not like an in and out. You go through it. So we started on that trail, and we're working our way down the canyon to get to the trailhead, and we came across a 80 series Land Cruiser that Koi talked to. What'd that guy say, Koi? You talked to him.
His truck was just covered in like leaves and pine needles, like it had been sitting for a year, and it was pretty overloaded. Like, he had a generator on the roofs, kind of had a lot of 80 series like overland builds where they're kind of, I don't know, 33-inch tire and just laden, And I said, oh, where you come from? And he said, Cane Creek. And I was like, oh yeah, we're headed to Cane Creek. And he's like, oh, okay, it's pretty rough in there. It's just washes, and it took me a while to do that. And I was like, oh, how long did it take you? And he said, 2 days. And I said,
What?
How long? And I held up my hand and went, 2 days. And he holds his hand up and goes, 2 days. I said, oh, is that why it's covered in leaves and sticks and stuff? And he was like, yeah, I had to find some alternate routes a few times. And I was like, oh, good to know. And we continued on.
Yeah.
I'm really curious if he was new to overlanding and off-roading and the principles of tread lightly too, because of the finding his way.
I'm going to say he's new to the tread lightly type thing, but he looked like local yokel-y kind of guy, but not. Yeah.
He had a rooftop tent. He had traction mats. I don't know if they're Max Tracks or not. A winch bumper, stuff like that. So he was kitted out. I don't think he was on 33s. I think he was on 31s or 32s. And off that thought pattern, I told Koi, I was like, well, he's laden down. He's heavy. He's got smaller tires. We don't have near the camping gear with us that this guy does. Let's send it. Let's go. And that evening we had a podcast to be on for a show called the Horsepower Hour. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but we decided, okay, well, let's go out the trail, and if it's too hard, we'll just dedicate this number of hours to the trail. That way we know we have this many hours to get back out and make it to the show. And it was awful. And we found out later from some people that when Oregon got that giant heat wave, Colorado and Utah also got that same heat wave, which we'll talk about Colorado later. and they had a huge snow melt, which caused huge flooding, which caused lots of trail damage. And we think that that might be what happened with this trail, because it was like no one had done any trail maintenance on this trail in 5 or 6 years. It was rough.
It it was rough. I mean, it was doable. You could drive everything, but it just wasn't fun. Like it's
No.
just like you know, there's stuff like that in Oregon, and I was enjoying myself because it's just boulder field and picking lines and
Yep.
uh, I'd have to get out and spot, and then Aaron spot me through a spot, and it's just kind of like I feel like I'm just coming out all the way to Utah to get a dent on the kind of stuff that you have in Oregon and Washington, kind of like that place where you went, Jeremy. Uh, that's what it felt like, and we were just like, you know what? We've done like 4 or 5 miles of this. We're turning around. We got enough time to go do Hell's Revenge again. We kind of looked at each other and like, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
So we boogied out and we went back to Hell's Revenge. And like I told some people that were like texting me while I was just getting onto Hell's Revenge and while I was driving through it, I said, I'm doing a speed run through Hell's Revenge. I can't talk right now. So I mentioned earlier that it took us 5 hours. This time it only took us 2 hours and 10 minutes, and that included Hell's Gate. So
Nice.
we rocked at that time. Oh, yeah, let me pull up some pictures of that one. Hang on a second. So here's another great shot where you can see all the tire marks everywhere. Um, and as we were exiting, we came across this awesome rig, like a old deuce and a half truck that's given rides. I can't remember the name of that tour company, but
That
it was
looks
cool seeing
awesome.
that.
That'd be
Yeah.
a good one for my mother-in-law.
Yep. And ahead of Coy's rig is a side by side with some green on it, and that guy stopped and talked to me, and he's like, "You guys are still out here?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I saw you guys out on Hell's Revenge first thing this morning." I was like, "Well, no, we left and we wheeled some other trails, and we liked it so much we're coming back out to do it again." So, kind of funny that we ran into somebody who recognized our trucks, which wasn't very difficult to recognize our rigs because we weren't in a side by side and we weren't in a Jeep. We were like one of 5 non Jeeps or side by sides on this trip that we saw with our own eyes.
And I'd imagine that the deuce and a half was one of those 5.
No, I didn't include that because he was like a tour guide. But yeah, we saw
Oh,
the 80 series, we saw the Tundra, we saw a guy in a Tacoma, and our 2 rigs, and that was basically it. I guess there was H1 Hummers, but those were tour guides also. A lot of Jeeps out there. Here's another picture where you can just see it, the rolling slab, where it's just all rock, all solid rock, smooth, slick rock, which is really cool. There's some more. This one was kind of hairy when I approached it when Coy was behind me the first time we took this trail, because I pulled up to it, and once again my long hood, I couldn't see over it. I had to get out of my truck to see the lines. And thankfully on some of these where they kind of drop off, which you can't tell in the picture that drops off, but they put some yellow driving lines to kind of direct you and guide you.
oh, that's
Here's
handy. I was wondering what those were for.
Yep. Here's another picture of my rig going down something.
Seems like
So yeah,
yeah,
we did.
seems like you need a front-facing camera.
It would be pretty slick to have something like that. I would like something like that, honestly.
I feel like in Moab is one of the few places where that would actually work a lot of the times. Because here, I feel like after the first mud puddle, camera would be no. Whereas, but it's dry and it's really not that dust. It's like so dry, it's not even that dusty there. It seems like so.
Yeah.
That probably work good.
So
Yep.
I have one of mine. It works pretty good, except for obviously, kind of what we were talking about before, where the cameras flatten everything out. If you're rock crawling, it's kind of good because you can kind of remember what your line was. I often say that rock crawling is kind of like a game of driving memory, where you
Yeah.
you put your line and then you're just trying to make sure, or pretending that you know where you are on that line. The camera does help, but it gives you a false perspective of how big rocks are. But in Moab, I think it would be good because you could just, you could see where your line was.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's on there.
And then at some point on day 2 or day 1 that we were there, I got to see Trail Mater. I saw the Moab Motorsports property, and so they were closed at the time when I stopped by. So I tucked some business cards and stickers in the driver's seat for Rory, and I think it's Rory.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's Rory.
Yep.
I text him after you said that you stopped by there, and he's like, "Oh no, I haven't been out to the Trail Mater." And he walks out there, and he's like, "Yep, got him. Thanks."
Nice.
I was gonna say he got so surprised that they were there, he rolled it.
Not quite. It just looks like that.
No,
All
well,
the time.
he rolled it later that day.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Oh, I sent it in a text or in the group chat.
Oh, somehow I missed that.
He's
While I was
back up and
doing some
running now.
amazing wheeling out in Moab, I didn't totally pay attention to all the group texts that were happening. So yeah, it was cool getting to see that rig firsthand. That guy has this. I don't think we talked about this in the show, but that guy has 4 winches on that. One in the front, one on the back, and one on each side.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Can you blame him?
I mean,
is. No, you can't.
So it's actually like driving in SnowRunner.
SnowRunner, yeah, where you can pull a winch any direction. Exactly. Yep. Well, day 5 was our last day in Moab, and it was going to be a lighter day, not hardcore wheeling, because we didn't want to break anything before we drove to our next epic spot, Colorado. And so we did some light wheeling. Coy found us a place called Potash Road.
And Schaefer
didn't-
Switchbacks is also goes Potash Road to Schaefer Switchbacks.
Yep, which took us into Arches National Park. And if the national park is listening,
I thought it was.
I'm sure. Oh, you're right. It was Canyonlands, yeah. And if Canyonlands is listening, I'm sure you just lost the money that we paid for the entrance fee somewhere. I'm positive we paid when we entered. Don't fine us. On Potash Road, there was some petroglyphs, which was really neat. Here's a picture of some wall art. There's some hunters attacking a antelope or mountain goat or something in this picture, or deer. And there was also some dinosaur footprints. So here's a couple pictures of dinosaur footprints on rocks, which was also really neat.
And these
The
were
whole
probably
Tacoma Beast.
these were the ones at the Poison Spider Trailhead, which actually we talked about you, Jeremy, while we're sitting at the Poison Spider Trailhead, knowing how badly you want to do that trail, but then you didn't come with us.
I know.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So know that there's actually petroglyphs and dinosaur tracks at the trail you want to do really badly. I saw them; they're amazing.
They are amazing. And then we continued out Potash Road, and we got to this point right here, which I wish I would have taken a picture the other direction, because, or I guess I did, I just didn't upload it. But right in this area is where Thelma and Louise drove off the cliff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
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 Was there a heritage marker there or something to tell you that?
It's on Google Maps, actually.
And our guidebook kind of loosely explained where it was.
Yeah. And then what'd you call the switchbacks, Coy?
I'm pretty sure they're called Schaefer Switchbacks.
Schaefer. So this is a picture of those switchbacks taking us up through the canyon. And at one point I looked at the wall and I'm like, I don't even know how we're going to get up that. I don't even see the road. It was just so tight against the cliff face. Most places you could probably pass somebody, and we actually did have to pass several cars on this road. But it was a good experience for my wife. She was on this one, so she could experience some cliff faces before we did Black Bear Pass in a couple days. I was glad that we got some previous experience.
And we didn't really take any pictures because the drone wasn't working properly then. But we passed the potash ponds, so they pump water down these wells, and the water dissolves the potash, and they suck it back out and fill these ponds, and they dye it like crazy colors, like red or like this real vibrant blue. It sits in this giant pond for a year till it evaporates, and then they scoop all the potash out and make fertilizer, ceramics, or something with it.
It's primarily used for fertilizers.
I'm gonna upload a picture real quick, so that we can see that,
And
because it's amazing.
this pops back into the back of Canyonlands National Park, and then I thought we'd hit the Canyonlands. Yeah, it's
There's the potash ponds, and it takes up to like 300 days for them to dry.
yeah, and this picture looks almost like a glitch, but that's pretty much what it's odd looking.
That
The
is really
colors
cool.
pop.
Yeah.
And those are monstrous. Like, I mean, it took us probably half hour to drive around that. I mean, they're very large. So we popped into the back of the Canyonlands National Park. I thought I was going to have to go through the pay booth and pay just to get across the corner of it, but turned out when we hit the pay booth, it was free because we were leaving. So I'm kind of half expecting a ticket in the mail. I really don't know how this will work, but yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. So sorry guys. I would have paid. I was expecting to.
Yeah.
But you didn't open the
Absolutely.
window and you waved me on. So
Yeah. Let's see here. So that was our last day in Moab. We were only there for 4 days. We left Moab, and on the way out, we stopped at a place called Hole in the Wall. So some of our listeners out there know what Hole in the Wall is. I didn't upload any pictures of that either. Shame on me. But
Did
we
you
stopped at Hole in the Wall.
upload any of the pictures of that sweet Jeep we sat in?
Not yet. That's coming.
Okay.
I tried doing it from my phone a couple days ago and it wouldn't let me, so I got to try it from a laptop. So
So
I'll
so
share.
while you're uploading those, I got some questions for you guys. So did you get a chance to see Golden Spike Trail? Is that something where you could see it and you were like, oh no, don't want to do it or don't have time for it?
So I want to do a how to wheel at Moab episode because I didn't do any research on it. I kind of let Coy run with the Moab spot, and I didn't realize um, that it's not like an off-road park where you pull up to the gate and all the trails are there. You have to drive. Some of these trails are over an hour away just to get to the trailheads for a
Mhm.
lot of these trails, like White Rim and Top of the World and Golden Spike and stuff like that. They're half an
So
hour to an hour away.
Golden Spike, I actually researched quite a bit because I wanted to do Crack in the Ground, which is part of the Golden Spike
Mhm.
Trail. I've seen tons of stock rigs or close to stock rigs at that spot, and it looks cool. And I want to have that picture. In our guidebook, uh, Golden Spike Trail is actually like 5 trails. Kind of, you do parts of 5 different trails, like poison. You do part of Poison Spider and part of all these other trails. And they said it's ultra difficult. So I'm not 100% sure, how it's done, but I didn't want to just jump in there and try and do it and then not, and then end up in a bad place. And it's also, they say it's to do Golden Spike is like a full day. Like, get there early, you'll get home in time for dinner, pack a lunch type thing.
Mhm.
And because I was with my family and I just didn't want to have to work on my truck while my family was there and I'm kind of thing. I think in the future we'll do a Moab trip for the boys, and then that'll be in my trail list then.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And I like I said, I don't know Moab at all. So having heard that from you, that's like, okay, now I know if I plan a trip to Moab, plan for a whole day for something like that, and
Yeah.
know that it's going to be difficult.
the only trail I didn't do that I really wanted to do while I was there is I wanted to do Top of the World, but we ended up kind of doing some other stuff, and it's like an hour away, and it's really mixed reviews, kind of a lot of stuff, because some guys will be like, yeah, you're fine, do it. Next one will be like, hey, the trail on Top of the World's actually getting worse. You need at least 35 front wheel lockers. So it's like you don't really know who to believe, and you don't want to just go there and start thrashing your rig either. So it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can get that. And that's, I mean, trails are ever evolving. For instance, I mean, look at the West Loop here, up here in Tahuya. Jeremy can attest that a couple years ago it was fairly easy, and now it's best described as challenging to get into.
Well, now as they're doing the logging in the South Loop area, they have gotten rid of the they've gotten rid of the gatekeeper there, so you actually just drive straight into it.
Oh, fun. Drive straight into the fun, huh?
Yep.
Someone's notifications aren't muted, Ben or Jeremy.
Not me.
Sorry, that was me.
I knew it was. That's why we kept on messaging in that group message. So we left Moab. We stopped at this place called Hole in the Rock or Hole in the Wall. Basically, is some guy back in, was it the 50s, Coy? I think it was the 50s. He started chiseling into the rock and he built a house, a 5,000 square foot house just carved into the sandstone. And they had a restaurant out of it and stuff like that, and blah blah blah. Tourist attraction, pretty neat. I definitely should suggest everybody stop there and take the tour. Yeah. Facebook user says a Moab trip, just the boys, huh? I'm not sure who the Facebook user is, but
Not today.
yeah, it.
Not today.
If you're well equipped, we want you to come. It says, I think if you go back to Moab, I'm driving some of it. So I really don't know who that is. I'd be excited after the show to find out who else wants to go to Moab with us.
I feel like that might be my wife.
Ah,
Yeah.
it says Ruth on there.
Called
Isn't
it.
she supposed to be working?
I don't know.
Don't time her out, man.
Yeah.
Don't say
Yeah.
anything
Well,
else.
wait a minute. If we go back to Moab, how is she driving some of it? Because she's not one of the boys.
Yeah.
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 We talked about that. We talked about going to Disneyland, and then at the last second, the guy is bailing on the Disneyland trip, and us going to Moab while they go to Disneyland with the kids. But that didn't go over very well.
It went over better than I thought it would, to be honest.
Well, they actually did think that we were serious. So, yeah. So we left for the third time here. We left Moab, stopped at Hole in the Wall, and then we got into Ouray, which is only like 3 hours away when you're driving slow and towing. And right when we pulled into Ouray, raindrops started to hit, and then it absolutely poured on us, and then we got thunder and lightning. It got nasty.
Lightning above the town of Ouray on this mountaintop and lit a fire, but it was like a rock knob with a patch of forest on the top. Yeah.
Boom. There's that picture. Yeah.
There's
So
that.
this knob, you can see the fire that had just started that evening when we got into town. Kind of cool.
Is that
Yeah,
fire still actively burning?
No,
No.
I think the rain put it out.
They said they're going to
That's
bring
how hard it was raining.
They said they're going to bring a chopper out in the morning to put it out if they still needed to, but they didn't want to use the chopper right then because of all the lightning. They wanted to have the chopper available for a serious emergency fire, not one that's surrounded by rock cliffs. And it was funny how we found it because we just pulled over and we're talking. I went to talk to a U.S. Forest Service guy there because I wanted to ask about the Black Bear Pass and trail condition, because there was some sites online that did say it was closed and it was raining and we thought it could have washed out or something. I talked to him about it, and there was like a group of them standing there, and they kept looking up. And I was like, "What are you guys looking at?" And they're like, "That fire right there." I mean, and this fire was 3 miles away or something.
Yeah. So here's a picture of the town of Ouray, kind of a neat town. lots of knick-knack stores and stuff, and you can see a jerky store in town. Every one of these little towns in Colorado had one of those jerky stores. So yeah, so that was when we got in town. We did not go night wheeling that night.
We did run Black Bear Pass at night though. Just
we
just
talked
as like
about it. We were like, if they're going to close it, maybe we do it tonight.
well, plus we just thought it would be funny. Like people would be like, "Well, how was Black Bear Pass?" It's like, "Well, I ran it at night in my jammies, and like, yeah, it wasn't that bad." You know,
It was
just
pretty
like
easy.
power move.
Yeah. The next day when we ran it, I was thankful that we didn't run it at night because it had rained all night. Everything was wet. Everything was slick. It was not like Moab. You did not have grip for days. Loose rock, loose shale, water crossings. In fact, here's a picture. This picture is just before where that Dodge Ram rolled.
And by just before, I mean like 40 feet. Like
Yeah.
it's you can kind of see the tail end of it there. Like,
Yep. The idiot in the Nissan pickup truck, if he would have closed his door, this would have made a much nicer photo, but didn't do that. So yeah, we left day 6, day 7, we wheeled from Ouray to Telluride via Black Bear Pass. You don't have to be crazy to drive this road, but it helps, according to CW McCall.
and my wife actually drove 90% of this road too. Like,
yeah.
I had a few spots that were pretty hairy that I got out and spotted, but she did a really good job. Like it's pretty doable.
I was a little puckered up in some places, mostly because my tires, like I mentioned earlier, were pretty bald. Um, I was definitely lacking traction in some areas, and then also my longer wheelbase affected some stuff as well, mostly the switchbacks. But picking a good line was definitely important for coming down some of the stuff. And I mentioned earlier about the heat wave we had, melted snowpack caused rivers to overflow. We believe that damaged a lot of Black Bear Pass because it should have been a lot easier for the first section of it. The switchback section was stupid easy. It was just a Forest Service road that was narrow with tight switchbacks. All the stuff prior to that was there were some sketchy parts. At least I thought there was.
Yeah, there were definitely some sketchy parts, and that's people in town stuff told us that the snow melt was so fast this year that it did a one guy said it was the worst the trail had been. But I had read a thing where somebody explained Black Bear Pass, and what I think is probably the best way to explain it said Black Bear Pass is it's can be done fairly easily by a novice, and it's easier if you're good at off-roading. But it's kind of like doing push-ups over or a chin-up bar over a 2,000-foot drop. Anybody can do 6 push-ups, but when you're over a 6,000-foot or 2,000-foot drop, it changes the way that those 6 push-ups feel. So that's kind of how this is. Like, it's not super hardcore wheeling, but because if you mess up, you could roll for a long time and then fall through the air and then start rolling again and then fall through the air and then roll. It definitely has a pucker factor that's
Yeah.
not found in many places.
Yep. I was concerned that my wife wouldn't come with me on this one, and I left it open to her to choose. She did agree to come on it, and I was super glad that she did, because I felt like she um, enjoyed it after the scary parts. So
Well, that's good that she enjoyed it ish.
yeah. I want to give a shout out to Gunmetal Guy USA. He says he's listening at third shift on work covertly at a non-testosterone or 2A friendly environment. So he's given us a thumbs up. Appreciate you checking us out, Gunmetal Guy USA. Um, So this picture is still up on Black Bear Pass, and you can see the town of Telluride through the clouds down there at the bottom. Telluride was a little bit bigger version of Ouray and a lot more glitzy and glammy. There was some highfalutin people in that town. Um, yeah,
Was
and
there
then we
their jerky store like marble lined and all that?
probably. I don't think we stopped at a jerky store that day, or at least in that town that day. Um,
And
we walked around the
really,
towns and had lunch down there.
we never ever in the entire time we were in Telluride saw a Hyundai Telluride.
That's a Kia Telluride, but yes,
Yeah, Kia Telluride. We
Same
did see a
yeah.
single one of those little sweet SUVs that name themselves after a town. So I'm not sure what's
Yep.
up with that.
Kind of like
I don't know.
Tacoma.
Yeah, those are all over though. Um, here's a shot through the town, and this is actually looking back up at Black Bear Pass. In the very, very, very back, you can kind of see that waterfall, and that waterfall is where a couple pictures back, where Coy and I were parked, is the beginning of that waterfall area. So we had lunch in that little town, and then we headed up Imogene Pass to get back to Ouray. And Imogene Pass, you can see Black Bear from the distance. And here's a shot. Upper left, you can see the waterfall that we crossed. Shortly after that is where the guy rolled his Wrangler, not sorry, his Ram. And then you work your way down to the switchbacks, and you can visibly see the switchbacks in this picture. And what's kind of cool is there's
When he says the waterfall, he's not talking about the one with the powerhouse of it on the
no,
very top corner left. That waterfall, right above that
correct.
little there, not way down over here.
So if he would have tumbled, he would have gone down all that rock and worked his way down the falls and had a jolly old time. That would have been an epic recovery. We should mention day one, as we were headed to Black Bear Pass, we ran across CBI off road, and they had a full crew and everything. And we're like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they're like, can't remember what they were going to wheel. Oh, they were wheeling Corkscrew Gulch or whatever it's called. And we're like, "Oh, we're headed to Black Bear." And then the next day when we saw them, they were coming from Corkscrew Gulch again, and I think that they got screwed out of their Black Bear Pass trip because they said they were going to go to Black Bear Pass the next day, but they came from a different direction, which was nowhere near Black Bear. So I wonder if they didn't get a chance to run.
That reminds me, also in the house we rented in Moab, just like 4 or 5 houses down, a bunch of guys from Apache Off Road.
Oh, that's
Just
right.
Online kind of, I think they're Toyota primarily, Apache Off Road. Yeah, there
There's
was
a sticker.
fleet of Toyotas and FJs and all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah.
Is an FJ not a Toyota?
No, there was a bunch of, there were more FJs than anything else. We kind of,
Yeah.
think we're a little better than the rest of the Toyotas, but not like a lot. Like, I think resale value reflects how we feel.
Yeah. So we left, we went up Imogene. Here's another shot. We worked our way through the clouds, which was crazy. And for quite a bit of time, we were working our way up the clouds. And then we got to the very top of the pass. This is the highest pass we hit. There's a picture where we're parked at the top, and you can't read the sign, but it's
Spectacular view.
Yeah, it was amazing view. It almost looks as fake as the moon landing. 13,180 feet or something like that is Imogene Pass, and there's a mailbox behind. I didn't get a chance to go check to see if I had any postcards in there. Hey Ben, can you pull up from our group chat the video of me driving up that waterfall?
Yeah. Give me a minute and you can.
While you do that,
we had a guy that chased me down on a side-by-side and offered me $100 if I would give him a quart of oil, which I would have just gave it to him. But I literally just did an oil change on my truck before I left, and my truck, I believe, takes like 6.1 quarts, and so I bought a like a 1 gallon one, and I always had kept a thing of the extra oil in the back. I'm like, I'm just using that, and so I didn't. After having it there for literally 4 years, 2 weeks before this, I had taken it out, so I felt a little bad. But the look on his face when I grabbed the radio and said, "Hang on, hey Aaron, there's a guy up here. I'll give you $100 for a quart of oil. You got it?" Like, it was pretty funny.
Did you have any oil?
Yeah, I didn't. I had actually peeled the oil out of that truck. And I don't know why, but I had every other fluid other than oil. So,
Ouch. Bad day
Yep.
for that guy.
Yep, it was a bummer. And
All right.
normally I carry oil. Yeah, show this video. You turn it down a little bit or mute it, Ben.
Sorry.
That was harsh.
Yeah,
Aaron getting abducted by aliens or something.
yeah.
So what that video was showing was me in a creek bed, a fast-moving creek bed, and driving up a slick rock wall. Did you go first, Coy? And then I fought. Yeah, you went first. You went up this rock wall, and I tried to follow you, and I couldn't. I had put my driver's side front tire, in a hole in the creek, which probably dropped it down.
Don't be loud. Don't be loud. Stop.
Sorry. Sorry. I was hoping I could control audio on that one, but it wasn't letting me.
Gotcha. Well, so driver's side tire in a hole, which put passenger side tire not in a hole, and it was actually kind of not necessarily up in the air, but I was like flexed tight. I was squished down on the driver's side because of the angle, and I needed to turn to the right to climb up this wall, and I had the front locker on, and like it wasn't climbing the wall at all. I couldn't get out of the hole I was in. So I tried to turn my steering wheel and back up, and my steering was all locked up, and I don't know what was going on. So I just backed out of the hole with my steering turned hard passenger all the way, backed out of the hole and still locked up. And then this Jeep Gladiator, I don't know what he was on, maybe 37s or 40s. He's probably on 37s. He comes through and he drove up the line I was trying to drive up. And Coy gets out and he's looking at it. He's like, we looked at it.
To that hole, though. I watched, and he drove around the hole because he didn't want to break an ankle too, I imagine.
Most likely. Yeah, so I I whipped my steering wheel back and forth a couple times, or tried to. It was like locked up, like it didn't move at all, and then it just popped. And I was like, oh sweet, it must have just been bound up from a rock jammed up in there or something from the creek pushing rocks around. And then I pulled up, and this time I put my driver's side tire just outside of that hole. I really didn't want to be any farther to the right because the wall kind of made a weird angle. And so I was trying to avoid the weird angle, also trying to avoid the hole. And I just clambered right up it. And then after we get through, Coy's like, I think you broke an axle. I'm like, no, it drove fine right up the wall the second time. And we get out, and my CV is twisted. Like someone had popped it out of joint, twisted it, I don't know, 60 degrees and put it back in. Okay, here's the video again without the sound. And so this is the second attempt. My wife was standing on a bridge filming it because she didn't want to be in there with me. And I had no issue the second time other than dragging my bumper all the way through the creek. That long wheelbase and long overhang of a truck definitely helped in some situations and hurt in others. But you can see it went right up it, and that's with a broken axle, not knowing I had a broken axle.
And this is
here's a picture. Here's a
hard
picture of
to
that
see
broken axle.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the video, but that was probably 8 inches of very fast moving water and just solid slick rock pretty much underneath it. So it was pretty slippery and a lot of water pushing on your truck.
Yeah, that's why my wife was like, I'm out. And So she shot the video rather than ride with us. Broke the axle. We were towards the very end of the trail. Coy's like, let's just fix it. That way it's ready for tomorrow. And I'm like, I don't really want to. We're in gravel and stuff. And he's like, well, it's better to do it here than back at camp, because camp was a worse substrate to work on. And I'm like, we'll figure it out. I'll see if I can drive it out of here. So I just drove it. We were at a point where we could put it in. I left it in 4-wheel drive for quite a while. Then I went to 2-wheel drive, and then we got to the edge of town because Imogene dumps you out right into Ouray. And we're like, well, we need to go get gas for tomorrow anyways. Let's drive to the gas station. They've got a workshop there. I pulled up there. So I drove on a broken axle for about 20-25 miles, or maybe 20-25 minutes, something like that anyways. And we get to the garage, and I asked the guy, it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. I asked the guy, I was like, hey, what do you charge to change out a front CV on my truck? And he looked and paused for a second. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, okay, no big deal. And then he says, no, you can do it. I'm like, well, I know I can do it. I just didn't want to if I could pay somebody else to do it. And so I went back to the truck, and I was like, I wonder if he'll let me do it in his parking lot, because it was a nice paved gas station parking lot. So I walked back. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I change it here? And he's like, that's fine, but we close at 5:30. And so Coy and I got the truck up in the air, swapped the axle out. I had 2 spares with me, and we had all the axle swapping done in, I would say, 50 to 55 minutes. It was definitely under an hour. Our wives walked over to a clothing store next door and bought some stuff while we were slaving away in the hot temperatures.
Well, I'm looking at your CV axle there. I noticed that yours is bolted in, so that's got to make it life a whole lot easier there for you.
It
Yes,
does.
that's why we got it done in 50 minutes.
I mean, just like thinking about it, like for me on a Toyota, like popping those out sometimes are a pain in the butt.
Yeah, that's why I carry pry bars on my truck, for that reason.
So I have the same exact, probably the same CV Ben does, and they pop out pretty easy. But it's the oil mess, and then you got to refill the diff.
Mm-hmm.
At least like it, I mean, you don't lose all of it, but you lose. So you got to be prepared to like capture the oil and refill it. Whereas this, I mean, it helps to have 2 people, because you just turn it, you'd hit the front locker, I'd break that one loose, turn the CV like. So other than maybe it would be helpful to have 2 people, this is so much easier to change out than just your standard Toyota with the spline and C-clip.
So did
Yeah.
he let you use his lift?
No, I used a bottle jack. My bottle jack wasn't tall enough, but I had a block of wood with me, but I couldn't get the block of wood and bottle jack underneath the frame. So I drove it up on max tracks, jacked it up, took the max track out from the passenger side, took the wheel off, did all the work kind of stuff. So
Gotcha.
yeah, we didn't use any of the stuff. We didn't use any of his parts, and I kept on seeing him like look out the window at us and stuff. So I'm hoping in my heart that, like, after we left, he's like, wow, those guys kicked butt. So
Yeah, I'm
maybe
wondering.
made me feel good rocking it out.
I'm wondering if he's never changed one out, and he's like, "Oh, I'll take too long."
It's possible. So
Several trucks that he was working on, and I
No.
want to point, now that we've done Moab, Black Bear Pass, and we had a trail breakdown, we limped out, we just swapped out an axle in a gas station parking lot. I'm graduating from Overlander to Wheeler now. I'm now
Yeah.
Wheeler. So
yep.
you piddly Overlanders are not real off-roaders. You're really living beneath me, and you're ruining the trails. So that's all.
Wow.
Go back to the malls.
I mean,
Yeah.
you drive a.
Go to your cars and coffee while I'm out doing the serious off-roading. Yeah.
Jeremy's speechless over that one.
So that day after we got back from fixing the axle, we spent the afternoon at the quote unquote hot springs in town. It's like a public pool that you pay to get into, or a private pool, I guess you pay to get into, fed by hot springs. Family had a great time, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Day 2 in Colorado, we went wheeling again. This was our last real wheeling day, and it had a pretty easy one picked out. It's something called like Red Mine Mounting Road. Takes you from Ouray to Silverton, and it was full of like ghost town mining stuff, which was exactly what our families kind of wanted to do. And they got to see lots and lots of they got to see lots and lots of that stuff to take pictures. So Facebook user, who's probably Ruth again, says, wait, the best part about the hot springs, I think she wants to talk about the poop that was floating in one of the hot springs.
Whoa.
That-
Yeah.
What?
What?
Oh,
There was
she says two kids. She says 2 kids learned to swim, but I think she was actually talking about the poop was the best part about the hot springs.
I think it was the turd in the punch bowl. Yes, my children learned to swim, but that was going to happen eventually, anyways, right?
Yeah, you
You
don't need to
throw
go to
it in
Colorado hot springs for that.
You throw them in enough times, they'll learn really quick.
Yep.
Well, my daughter had a
So-
life
Red Mountain Mining Road had lots of scenic stuff that you could take pictures of. There was a really cool helicopter that was flying one tree at a time out of there. I mentioned it to my buddy Christian, who's a volunteer firefighter here, and he told me what kind of helicopter it was, but I forgot. But he said they're really common for uses in fires also, because they've got those they carry those buckets around and stuff. So
counter rotating blades instead of a tail rotor.
yeah, and it was
And-
really skinny, like a Cobra attack helicopter.
And considering that he was moving those trees at 10,000 feet or better, that's seems impressive. But
Yeah. So we got lots of pictures of stuff like that, lots of fun stops to see the mines, and there was some where you could walk into them and things like that. We worked our way down to Silverton. Silverton was just another fun town. This was my favorite town out of all of them because it seemed the most honest, and didn't have a whole bunch of glitzy, glammy people in it. Only the main road was paved. All the rest of them were actual dirt roads. They weren't even gravel. They have a train that comes into town, a steam train that I think runs between Silverton and Durango. I can't confirm that yet, but
Isn't the gas like stupid expensive in that town, or is that a different town in Colorado in that area?
gas was expensive in all the towns. Yeah.
luckily, I saved 16 cents on my my 4th of July party, though, so I was able to convert that straight to gas.
Yeah, on all the hot dogs you bought, you saved
On all
your
hot dogs,
16
yeah.
cents. Yeah,
So
you and me both.
Worked out good.
Thanks, President Biden, Sleepy Joe. Yeah, so Silverton was a cool town, and then we went back via the regular road back to Ouray and did some pre-packing for the night, because the next day was going to be our longest drive home. Um, we only took 2 days to get out there, but we were going to take 3 days to get back, and that was going to be the longest leg. And we got to stop at the Bonneville Salt Flats on the way out. This was kind of another bucket list thing to check off. Although I don't feel like it's really checked off for me. I think I need to go back when it's not raining.
It's not a full check for me. It's not a full check.
Yeah.
I need to spend about an hour out here.
Yeah. But I can confirm that the Bonneville Salt Flats are salty. I got down and I licked the road surface, and it's definitely salt. Yeah, it's salt.
So, did you guys drive fast on it?
No.
So, yeah,
My-
definitely not checked off.
My wife actually drove my truck out on the salt flats, and I rode with Aaron, and he's towing, so he wasn't going to go fast, and my wife wasn't interested in going fast. So, and we had pavement we had to put on, so
Yeah, we had a
spent-
lot of miles to do.
It's a stop, look, and smile, and then continue on.
we
Yep.
stopped, got this picture, got out, licked the ground, and then after I licked the ground, all the kids decided that they also needed to lick the ground. So then they were all, licking the ground, and then we loaded up and just bailed.
Yep. So that's it basically. Oh no. So then yeah, we camped that evening in Nevada, outside of Wells, Nevada, at a ghost town called Metropolis, which sounds like it's out of like a Marvel versus DC comic. Um, some ghost town from the early 1920s or 30s is when it finally shut down or whatever. We actually camped at the graveyard that night because it was the best ground to sleep at in that whole area. Um, Then the next day oh yeah, actually that night Coy, and then the next morning Coy went to a hot springs nearby called 12 Mile Hot Spring. I didn't partake in that because I was super tired. I hadn't been getting good sleep on the rest. Coy says top 10 hot spring for him though.
It was a really nice hot spring. Very cool.
Yeah. I wonder if the road condition prevents a lot of people from actually going to it.
There were several people that couldn't get there by road, and they just like walked the last half mile. So it's not
Okay.
probably you could get within a half mile of it with pretty much any vehicle. So I don't think it slows down too many people. I did get to do a little trail rescue. Well, I hope it was a rescue. The morning, we were sitting in the hot spring talking to somebody that camped there, and they kind of pointed at this black truck. We're like, man, this guy came in like 2 a.m. last night. He started banging on something, waking us up. We couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, I don't know if he was like had a pickaxe and was mining. Like, we thought he's pounded tent stakes in, but he did it for like an hour, and they were kind of mad at him. And as I left, he was sitting in a chair outside of his truck, and I realized that his front tire had a jack holding it off the ground. And I was like, "Hey, man, you need some air?" He's like, "Absolutely." All he had was a little like battery powered car air pump. So I went ahead and hit him with some air. I got up to like 15 psi, and I could hear it leaking. And then by the time I got 20, I could feel it leaking out of the bead. I was like, "Hey, you still haven't got all the rocks out of the bead or something?" Because he said he went in some hole somewhere up there and smashed rocks in his bead, and that's what all the banging noise was. As he's trying to get the rocks out of the bead, it was an aluminum rim that looked really bad at this point. And so I pulled the core, aired it down, and you could see where he had stabbed a hole into his where his like his bead ridge is. So the hole was inside of the bead lip, if that makes sense at all. So I ended up taking just some regular plugs, cutting them, stuffing them in there, and then just left the air on it. And when it got up to like 40 pounds, we beat on the side with a hammer, and it finally set and shoved those those plugs in that hole long ways, and it wasn't leaking air. So I ran him up to like 50 pounds and was like, "I can't hear any air leaking. This should get you back to wherever you're going." And he said, "Okay, well, as soon as my wife wakes up, go ahead and get out of here." I said, "Well, you might
Like,
want to think about leaving sooner than later, because I don't. That's not a permanent fix. That'll get you to a tire station, maybe. Hopefully to asphalt at least. But you do what you got to do." And we left. So he
Did
went
he
back to
not have a full size spare?
He did, but he didn't have. He had these aluminum rims, and he just got them for $400. A whole story about it. He didn't have the wrench for his lug nuts, and I didn't. Mine wouldn't fit either. So
Oh
yeah,
no.
fancy 9-spline aluminum lug nuts, and I was like, "Yeah, I can't help you there, but I can get some air in your tire and maybe patch it." So I spent 20 minutes, half hour helping him.
You
Kind of
know
fun.
what? Speaking of full size spares, Jeremy's is sitting next to me here in the garage.
oh, very nice. Um, so we left after Coy got back from helping that guy. We left that camp in Nevada. We didn't have a big drive for that day. We camped in Virgin Valley Hot Springs, which is where our first night of our Nevada trip was late last year. If you remember that one, Ben, that was
Oh yeah.
the hot springs that had the
You
fish in
you
it.
remember the hot springs? Oh, that's right. You didn't go on that trip. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
Be-
really want to get
because
my
he owned
wife
a Jeep.
to Virgin Spring Hot
Yeah,
to Virgin
right,
Hot
Jeep.
Springs.
Broken down.
um, that was a fun stop because we got there early enough in the day that we could set up camp and the kids could play in that hot spring, and um, the water is not too hot there. It's probably like 85 degrees or something. So it's more like a nice swimming pool that got to play in for half the day. And there's showers there. Got to hit the shower room that night before bed. And yeah, we left the next morning for our big drive home. Um, got to see a lot of the fire action happening in Oregon right now. The bootleg fire and the log fire, or what log something fire. So yeah, long day driving home, and at the end of the day, at the end of the trip. So here's a screenshot of my tow vehicle, which says we did 255 miles. I averaged, Andy, if you're still listening, I averaged 12.6 miles a gallon. So this was my 2017 F-150, my wife's 2017 F-150 with the 3.5 EcoBoost and the max tow package. Um, I put a variety of fuel in it. I never put below 87 octane in it, but more than half of the time I ran premium, so I was running 91 octane or better. And I feel like that got me better fuel economy going there because I averaged 13.7 going to Moab, and then the fuel economy never got above 13 on the way home. I felt that was pretty good for towing the Titan on a trailer that far, because when we tow our camp trailer here locally, it weighs less, but it's a big square box, and we get exactly 10 miles a gallon when we tow that. And I definitely towed faster with the Titan on a trailer than I tow my camp trailer. So that was fun. Average moving time for the truck was just under 52 hours of road time with the truck. So now we'll switch over to Coy's dash, and this is from his Garmin Overlander. Do you want to go through these numbers, Coy?
Yeah, our total recorded distance. And to be fair, I started this in Troutdale, so an hour from home. So we're actually probably about just a little bit higher, but 2,936 mile total. We're probably right at 3,000 though, because I
Yeah.
didn't start at the house. Our total time was 248 hours, 40 minutes, 42 seconds. Our moving time, 76 hours, 26 minutes, and 52 seconds. Our time stopped was 172 hours, 13 minutes, 50 seconds. And we had an overall average speed of 11.8 miles per hour. That's from when I left to got home. That would be my average speed. An average
So
moving
that
speed,
that includes all the trails and everything we did.
that includes trails and camping and sleeping when the truck's not moving.
Yep.
And then my average moving speed, which is just the freeway, the trails, just anytime the truck is moving, 38 miles, 38.3 miles per hour. And my highest max speed was 81 miles per hour. Obviously, in one of the 80 mile per hour zones in Utah, clearly, because I don't speed.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-mm.
That's illegal.
So you checked this right when we got into Moab, and getting to Moab, we averaged 62 miles an hour for our moving speed, which I felt that was pretty good for all the towing and stuff that we did, because I was towing and your father-in-law was in a full-size Ram with a trailer, probably like a 23-foot trailer or so. And I thought we did pretty good for towing
Yeah,
and averaging those speeds.
and we never really took it. He doesn't like to go above 70 because the trailer starts moving around. So I would keep it at. I was trying to keep it at 70. So considering my max speed at that time was pretty much 70 miles an hour, that's pretty good average.
Did he
Yep.
stick around for the whole trip?
I'm
Yep.
sorry, what was that?
Your in-law, father-in-law, stuck around for the whole trip?
Yep, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. So overall, amazing trip. It it would have been more fun if we would have had a few more people coming with us. Nathan Poplawski said that he's sad that he didn't get the invite. Yeah, sorry. I guess we're just gonna have to do another trip out there and invite more people this time.
For the boys.
Jeremy's nodding his head yes. I think you'll like it a lot more than the Rubicon, Jeremy. Same distance
We'll see.
away.
I don't think that's true.
It's
Yeah, I know.
like
it
about
doesn't have to be true.
It's about 4 hours difference. Yeah, that's like for you. That's like 2 Harry Potter movies.
Yeah. So great trip. Definitely want to do it again. We'll have to find a time to do it and figure out how to plan it because there's definitely more trails. I do want to do a how to wheel Colorado and a how to wheel Moab episode because there's a lot that we learned. Ruth says right after Disneyland. So apparently it's back-to-back trips. Go to Disneyland, and then from Disneyland you do the Rubicon on your way to Moab. So Ruth's got it figured out for us.
And to Moab, drop the girls off the airport, just straight on through.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Except we were going to rent a van, but
So it's 12 hours, 20 minutes from my house to the Rubicon Trail.
it's probably 20 hours to Moab.
It's 16 from my house to Moab.
Oh, okay.
Almost 17.
I literally said 4 hours difference. Don't have to believe me.
Yeah.
Well, except for it's 12 hours and almost 17 hours.
It's
So it's
16
actually 5.
hours. It's it's 16 hours to Moab from my house. So yeah, 4 hours. So
There you go.
2 Harry Potter movies.
If you're experiencing an eruption for more than 4 hours, call your doctor. And on that note, wow, this one ran really long. We had a lot to talk about, a lot of cool pictures. Appreciate everyone who's sticking around. We appreciate you guys listening to our show every week, even when we have to push it out. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you're sharing us with your friends. Share us with your coworkers, your family, your grandma. Tell her about our Moab trip. She'll love it. And God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.
I forgot to show it when I was talking about what I did, but here's my pick.
That's an awesome
Weird
poser
flex.
pick.
Weird flex.